Welcome to On and Off the Mic with Mike Corey.
Dan Hoard and I have crossed paths many times here in the recent past. I first met him while I was in Cincinnati years ago doing a TV game, as he is the radio voice of the Cincinnati Bearcats football and basketball games. He's also the voice of the NFL's Cincinnati Bengals. And this past season, Cincy seemed to be my most frequent city. So I wanted to reach back out to my friend and find out a little bit more about the city he's been in for almost 25 years, where I still need to go visit, and what it's like calling every game in Cincy for the Bearcats and the Bengals. Dan, how you been? I know I saw you probably a good 5 or 6 times a season during football and basketball. Always great to catch up. What's going on?
Mike, it's the off season. Trying to prepare, trying to be ready to go when football season begins. So life is good.
That's awesome. How was the year? You guys had a good year football wise, and basketball we know that too, and it was pretty good.
It was great. Certainly the football team exceeded expectations after going 4-8 the previous 2 years. To go 11-2 was amazing. And the basketball team repeated as conference tournament champion. So it was a great year for the University of Cincinnati. 2 Bengals games too. That wasn't quite as successful, but hopefully with a coaching change, they'll get back to the postseason this year.
Yeah, definitely want to get back to that. What about Mick Cronin heading out west? What do you think of that?
Not totally surprised, quite honestly. I think UCLA is one of those jobs that, has the type of pizzazz that would appeal to just about any coach. 13 years in one place is a long time. Mick did a fantastic job here, but, UCLA offers you some advantages that you don't have at just about any place in the country, and we'll see if he can take advantage of those kind of natural recruiting advantages and go a little bit further than he was able to go at Cincinnati.
Yeah, did you feel like in all your talks with him that there was kind of a short list of places? Did you ever see that coming? Did he ever tell that to you about like, well, if these jobs, open up, I mean, that's kind of some of the dream jobs he's looking for?
No, he never specified jobs that he would be interested in leaving for. And honestly, I think a big part of him thought that he would coach at his alma mater forever. But there are a couple of things that came into place with UCLA. Number one, it's UCLA. They've got as much history as any program, probably except for, Kentucky in the country. And UCLA has more national championships. Secondly, it's one of the few places in the country where he could take his daughter. He is a divorced dad, a great father. He's incredibly close with his daughter, Sammy. And for him to take another job, it required his ex-wife being willing to move to the same place. And she was willing to move to LA. So from that standpoint, it was one that made sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it was a fun year, man. I love coming to the home base with the new arena and all the upgrades. And that's probably one of the tougher places in the country. I mean, sold out, 12,000 fans. We had a good time there this year.
It's been one of the toughest places for visiting teams in the country to win over the last several years. And I certainly hope that continues under John Brannon. I think he's going to do great things at Cincinnati, but he's got some big shoes to fill, that's for sure.
I probably asked you this a few times, but doing both the Bengals and the Bearcats, I mean, it was 2000 for Cincinnati, and then 2006, am I right, in terms of 2011 for the Bengals, right?
Correct. This will be my 20th year as the radio voice of UC and my 9th year as the radio voice of the Bengals.
All right. How do you do that? And why do you, I mean, it's a dream to do the NFL. So I don't want to say like, why do you do both, but why do you do both? And what was how did all that transpire?
Well, why is, I guess I would turn around and say, why not? If somebody's willing to allow you the opportunity to do both, why wouldn't you? It's fantastic. I love it. It's crazy, but I love it. In terms of how it can be hairy on some weekends, I'm always a little bit nervous the day the NFL schedule comes out because I already have my University of Cincinnati schedule at that point. And that day I find out how tricky some of the weekends are going to be in getting from one place to the other. But more often than not, it seems to work out. And caffeine is my drug of choice in making it happen.
Yeah. Well, I remember doing Delaware back in the day, had to do sales as well, and then broadcast the games. Is there anything else you're doing on the side, like right now in the off season? I'm sure you get that question a bunch. What do you do now? Well, there's no games, people ask.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I do get some time off, but I fill in on the Cincinnati Reds pregame and postgame show on Fox Sports Ohio. So I do have some baseball responsibilities in the off season. And nowadays, for any play-by-play announcer, you don't get to just do the game anymore. There's a lot of website responsibility. I write for the University of Cincinnati website. I write for the Bengals website. I do a Bengals podcast every week. I do a lot of multimedia stuff for both entities. So there's plenty to do in the off season. Although having said that, I will take a big chunk of time off from late June until late July when Bengals training camp begins, because once Bengals training camp begins in late July, I will literally work every single day until the basketball season is finished. Now, when I say work, that doesn't always mean doing a broadcast. The work that day might just be preparing for the next broadcast, but there are no days off, no true days off once NFL training camp begins.
No, I hear you. And you know what, the word work, in terms of what we love to do, it's, you could say it because it is, but it's really not work. You know what I mean? It's not.
I agree with you.
Look at it that way. So.
Yeah, my father and my stepfather had real jobs where they went to work and they got their hands dirty every day. So I know how good we have it.
Yeah. Hey, you got to, every time I look around, I talk to, my friends in the business. I want to know what is the percentage of Syracuse University graduates, right? On the air, whatever it is, whether it's with us on ESPN or you guys doing games. What do you think the percentage is and your network there? It's amazing.
Yeah, the percentage is high. I don't know what the number is, but it's definitely high. It's great to go on the road for almost any sporting event and run into somebody that has Syracuse ties. It might be the on-air person. It might be the SID. It might be somebody in the production truck. The networking is incredible. And in the 4-year span that I was at Syracuse, the announcers that have gone on to have tremendous success in the building in the business rather, is really staggering. 1 year ahead of me, the graduating class ahead of me included Sean McDonough, who's obviously done extremely well. Greg Papa, the longtime voice of the Oakland Raiders, who's now going to be doing San Francisco 49ers games this year. Tony Caridi, who's been the voice of West Virginia for about a quarter of a century. So that was the class ahead of me. In my class, one of my college roommates was Jim Jackson, who's been the TV voice of the Philadelphia Flyers forever. Craig Minervini, who's on TV in Miami. And the list goes on and on and on. In the years immediately after me, Mike Tirico came along, Ian Eagle came along, Bill Roth, who's working for ESPN now after being the voice of Virginia Tech forever. So I think that I was there in the kind of the glory years stretch of Syracuse. Now, the list began long before us, and it's continued on, obviously, afterward. But the concentration of guys that have had wildly successful careers during the time that I was a student is really amazing.
Yeah, that's a crazy list, and there's still a bunch more too. You named off a lot of guys there. So you've pretty much been in Cincinnati for almost like 25 years now, like after college and broadcasting at Syracuse there, and then I think 1 year you went back to do like the Paw Sox for summer.
Well, I got to Cincinnati in 1996 as a TV sports anchor. I was the sports director for the Fox affiliate here. So I did that before I was doing play-by-play, although that job involved doing University of Cincinnati basketball on TV. They had the local TV contract back then. So I basically worked in Cincinnati or for a Cincinnati team since 1996. I left in 2006 and moved to Boston. I lived there for 5 years. I was doing the Pawtucket Red Sox in the summer, but I was still doing University of Cincinnati football and basketball. So even though I wasn't living in Cincinnati for those 5 years, I was still doing the UC games.
That's crazy. Wow. That's so I need to know a few more places in Cincy because I went there. Yeah, like I said, probably a good 5 times this year. We've been to the zoo. I really like the zoo. I thought that's pretty impressive. What are some of the other like spots that you would check out if you're a fan coming into your hometown?
Well, if you're a sports fan, I highly recommend the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. I think of all like local team Hall of Fames in any sport, anywhere in the country, there is none better than the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. They've done a marvelous job with it, and obviously the team has incredible history with the Big Red Machine and celebrating the 150th anniversary of being the first professional team in baseball. So for a sports fan, that would probably be at the top of my list. For somebody that doesn't like sports at all, believe it or not, I would recommend a grocery store. They've got this place called Jungle Gyms. There are actually 2 branches of it. and it's like an amusement park grocery store. You name it, they sell it. And it's like shopping in a Las Vegas mall or something like that, but they're only selling food. But it's remarkable. In fact, my in-laws are coming to town this weekend, and that's always a stop when they visit, to take them out to Jungle Gyms, because it's a lot of fun just to kind of peruse the aisles and see all the things that they're selling there.
That's unbelievable. So it's just all food though, but there's like so many other like things to do, I
I
guess.
mean,
Interact.
there are some things that are not food, but mostly it's food, and it's amazing. If you've ever been, to a place in the country and you had something, you're like, man, I remember that thing that I had that, when I was in Vegas or whatever, that was so great. Chances are they will have it at Jungle Gyms. I don't know how they get all the stuff and they keep it fresh and how they store all these things, but it's huge and it's interesting. And I always walk out a little bit less rich than when I walked in.
Yeah, exactly. We got this place here in Jersey, South Jersey, where I live. It's a bunch from called Wegmans. It's just kind of more of a higher end grocery store, and it's nice, very neat and clean. So I'm in there with my wife one time, and we're getting some food, and then they're scanning like the bacon or whatever, and it's like $9. I'm like, I immediately stop. I'm like, $9 for bacon. The guy's like, he doesn't shop here too often, does he? I was like, well, that's ridiculous. Like, you kidding me? Like, and stuff's like, I'm like, we weren't getting some, lavish kind of bacon. So I was like, well, we're gonna find another store to get some bacon, because that's it's just crazy. I was like shocked, but it's a good spot.
Yeah, I think Wegmans originated in Rochester, New York, and my wife used to work in Rochester, so I have been to Wegmans there. They have Wegmans in Syracuse as well, so I've been to Wegmans there. So Wegmans is awesome, but does not compare to Jungle Gyms. Trust me, the next time you do a Cincinnati game in Cincinnati, you are now required to check out Jungle Gyms.
I'm doing it. We're going to do a
Yeah,
whole
you need to.
That's awesome. We had some really good food at a couple of really nice steak restaurants. I want to get your take on obviously Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse, and then we went to Tony's of Cincinnati. Can you give me your take, or is there a different one that you like better? Or I don't want to get you in trouble, but those are two.
Hard to beat either of those. Cincinnati has a lot of good steak places. Those two are local. There's also a Ruth's Chris, and there's a Morton's. Tony's is great. Jeff Ruby has a variety of restaurants. So there's one close to my house called the Precinct, which I think was his first. Yep. So for proximity, that's probably the one that I would go to more, just because it's in my neighborhood. But it's hard to beat Tony's if you live in that part of town.
Yeah, the Precinct, the old police station, obviously. That was
correct.
A few times. That's a fun spot. I mean, Cincinnati overall, like where the university is too. I mean, I think it's one of the nicer campuses that I've been a part of or been on throughout the country. I mean, I've done a lot of college games. I know you have as well. I mean, just I don't know, facility wise, and it's right on campus, and nobody's taking buses to go to the games, and it's evident when you got 40,000 fans of football and 12,000 at basketball sold out. I mean, I love like where everything is located.
Yeah, the campus has come a long way since I arrived here in 1996. They've done an amazing job with some of the construction over the past 10 or 20 years. Really, the only negative that I can think of is that parking is a challenge for football, just because the stadium is located right in the heart of campus. And when you get 40,000 people for a football game, there's only so much parking available right on the university grounds, but you don't have to be that far away. And it is an incredible atmosphere. When that place is packed at night, it's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Do you ever run into the, not Cincinnati because they're great there, but like the unruly parking attendants where you're trying to just get in to go do the game and you don't know where you're going and you're like, come on, like.
Not at home. Sometimes on the road, for the home games, I get there so early that I don't run into it. But occasionally on the road, I've encountered that. And that's always fun when you're trying to get to the press box or wherever on time to do your job, and somebody's hassling you because you might not be in the exact spot that your press pass entails.
When I was talking to my friend about this in terms of the preparation on games, and you got to do too. You're doing, football, you're doing college, you're doing NFL. What do you do preparation wise where you felt like, you're ready for the games, but you're not shortchanging, yourself or the fans? Granted, it's the same team over and over,
Right.
one of them, so that helps. But what's your take on that?
Well, when you're preparing to do a game, you're preparing for two teams. When I prepare for the weekend, I'm kind of preparing for two teams as well because I know the University of Cincinnati inside out and I know the Bengals inside out. So I'm preparing for two opponents, whereas you are preparing for two teams that you don't do on a weekly basis. So in that sense, it's similar. The biggest thing that I had to figure out was a system that worked for me to set up my week so that I would be prepared for various things that I have to do in addition to the game. So I kind of determined early on after doing the combination of college and NFL that I needed to have my Bengal opponent preparation done on Monday.
Oh, wow.
So I spend all of Monday afternoon and evening working on my Bengal opponent information, and then I can always add to it during the course of the week. But if I get that done on Monday, we typically, at least during the Marvin Lewis era, we taped his TV show, which I host on Tuesday morning, and I really needed to be prepared to ask informed questions about the opponent. So if I got my Bengal opponent preparation done on Monday, I was in good shape. And then I would turn around and do the University of Cincinnati opponent on Tuesday and get all of the basics done on Tuesday. So I'd be in good shape to host the UC coaches show later that night. Once I figured out that was the schedule that I needed to follow, and then to just continue to add preparation during the course of the week, I found that I was in pretty good shape. So that's how I've set it up. Bengal opponent on Monday, Bearcat opponent on Tuesday, and the rest of the week seems to fall into place if I do that.
Join our friends from the Delaware Kids Fund and Harvey Hanna and Associates for the 10th Annual Delaware Kids Fund 5K in Newport, Delaware on Saturday, August 3rd to help fight childhood hunger. To register and for full info, visit dekidsfund.org.
I'm sure you've only gotten this question 100 times, but how do you think Zach Taylor is going to do, and what have been your interactions with him so far? I know it's only been a few months, and you got to get to camp too. So, but what's that like?
Yeah, I'm excited. I felt like I had a little bit of an advantage when the Bengals hired him because he was the University of Cincinnati offensive coordinator 3 years ago. So unlike a lot of the Cincinnati media, I actually knew him and had a friendly relationship with him. So I was excited by the hire, and I've been very impressed with him and his staff so far. Now, until they start playing games, who knows? But in terms of everything they've done to this point, he seems to have energized the players. He's got a young and big coaching staff. They got 21 guys on the coaching staff. Many of them are only slightly older than the players, so it's brought a new energy to the Bengals, I think. By and large, I think Marvin Lewis did a good job, but after 16 years, it was probably a good time to make a change, and hopefully things are going to go as well for the Bengals under Zach Taylor as they went for the Rams under his mentor, Sean McVay.
Yeah, no, he's bounced around pretty quickly. I mean, and a lot of NFL stuff too. I mean, he had Texas A&M and Cincy, but Miami and the NFL and the Rams, and now here at the Bengals. I mean, I think a lot of these teams like to go with the younger guys, and just, obviously some of the track record has been good, so why not take a chance at it, I guess. I mean, I like it.
Well, I think right now a lot of NFL teams are trying to find the next Sean McVay. The Cardinals certainly followed that model by hiring Cliff Kingsbury, trying to get a young offensive-minded guy in there, and that's what the Bengals did with Zach Taylor. We'll see how well it works. The Broncos went in the opposite direction, going for an older defensive-oriented head coach, but like I said, I like what I've seen so far with Zach Taylor. I think he hired some great assistant coaches. I watched their first OTA practice on Monday, and things looked good. So they've got a difficult schedule, and they've got some holes to fill on the roster, but I thought they had a great draft, and they've still got a nucleus of good talent. So we'll see.
Cool. Hey, and what are you doing for fun this summer? I know you said there's a little gap there of time, where the NFL is on a little bit of a lull before the season and the training camp. Where do you like to go? You and your family, what do you do?
Well, I've got a 13-year-old son, so it's a great opportunity for me to just do whatever he wants to do. He's kind of like us. A few years ago, somebody flipped the switch and he became the world's biggest sports fan. So any sporting activity that he wants to do, I'm in. So if he wants to go play catch in the backyard or shoot hoops or go try to golf or whatever, he's got a dad who's willing and able at this point. So his school is going to end tomorrow, actually. The end of the school year comes early in Cincinnati. So a lot of activities planned for father and son, hopefully.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I hope you get a chance to enjoy it. I know it's a busy time of the year, like you said, from the, start of pretty much August all the way through, March and early April.
Yeah.
I mean, it is nuts. And then you look at the people that do baseball, as you know, you do it too in a little bit. That's the exact opposite. Of course, I don't know if I'd want to do that. I mean, every single day, if you do all 162, it could be trying. I mean, I don't know how people do that.
Yeah, I did the minor league baseball thing for many years, and it's a grind. It's not a family-friendly schedule, so in that sense, I don't miss it. But, once you're in that world, you kind of get blinded to the fact that there's another world going on outside of you. So those guys have been doing it for a long time. They kind of forget what normal summer life is like, and there's something to it. Baseball, it's a fun game to broadcast because it happens every day, and you develop a great relationship with the guys on your team and the fan base as well. But you've got to be willing to submit yourself to that grind, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Dan, always good to see you when we get out there. Hoping I'll be out for a bunch more games this season, football and basketball. And, hey, have a great summer, and hope you get a chance to relax a little bit. We'll catch up again soon.
Sounds good, Mike. Thanks.
Make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another episode. And you can follow Mike's travels all year long on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on the web at Mike Corey Sports.